Tired of doing it all, putting yourself last, and feeling not enough? If so, this is your podcast to spark love for yourself and your life. I'm Natasha Koo, and I'm here because you matter. And being naturally confident is your right. Let's say yes to ourselves. Welcome. My name is Natasha Koo, and welcome back to another episode. Today we are actually on the 5th episode of the Confidence series, and I can't wait to share with you another story. This one is also going to be humorous. It's going to be so good, especially now that I reflect back and I say, oh, thank God that was then and not where I am right now. So let's dive into it. This story is all about comparison. And just imagine back to your own childhood. Did you compare yourself a lot with your siblings, your classmates, between each child? And also, how about your toys and your grades? How much comparison did you grow up in? So today I would love to share with you my story of comparison, not just between me and other kids and my friends as I was very young. This also features the mothers who are also playing their own, very own comparison game. So let's dive right into it and let me tell you the story of my childhood. I had a really great best friend, I would say. I call her my diaper buddy because that's exactly how we grew up. She was a wonderful family friend's daughter, and we just grew up from the time we were born pretty much until kindergarten time. And even when we were young, you could tell that there were differences between our personalities, and we would play so much together. What really shines through as we develop our personalities and our characters was that she has this competitive fire. And for me, I was more of a playful, easy-go-lucky type of little girl. I remember after we moved apart, that would be after kindergarten, when we moved in different cities, but we would still often see each other throughout the year, I noticed that every time we came together, my diaper buddy's mother would actually ask us to stand back to back and just always compare our height. And she would be extremely proud of her daughter and how much she's growing, and usually she was actually quite tall. She was often taller than me, even though she's only a few months older than me. So that turned out to be a game, and we were just pretty much didn't care that our mothers, or at least her mother, really wanted us to stand back to back and always compare our heights. We just really saw no point in it, and whoever was taller, maybe her mother would be really, really happy when her daughter was. But to us, it was just like, all right, let's just do what our mothers are telling us to do, and that was that. Now, the story gets extremely interesting when my diaper friend just kept growing taller and taller than me. So I plateaued around the age of 12, and I just was always about 5'5" or 168. But my friend, because of her genes and her father is really tall for an Asian man, she just kept growing taller. And for my height in Asia, it was quite a respectable height, and it's actually a height which many women would aspire to have, and they would actually go out and perform plastic surgery to get taller. So I stayed where exactly I was with my height, and she kept growing taller and taller and taller until her mother got quite uncomfortable with it and just started saying things to her like, why are you so tall? Or like, you're too tall for a girl. I'm not sure how you'll find a man. And all these not encouraging things. But the really interesting thing is that at a certain point, even though her mom got a real kick out of this game of comparison and feeling all happy and proud because her child is so much taller than me, or even just a little bit, and that she was winning the game stopped when her mother realized that her child was, in her opinion, too tall or taller than her imagined ideal of how tall her daughter should be. What ended up happening was one day we just stopped comparing our heights anymore. She never mentioned the game, or she never really ever offered us to, stand together and let's see who's taller this time, because it was obvious that her daughter was getting taller. And at this point, even though if you apply the rules from earlier, where she seemed to be the happiest when her daughter was taller compared to me, at this point, she was not proud of her daughter's height and she just didn't want to play the game anymore. That was the story of my youth, of my childhood, when height mattered and when height was turned into a game and then completely abandoned because the rules no longer made the players feel good about themselves. What I really love about this story is how it reflects our desire to feel good about ourselves, or to feel good at least about what we feel like we possess, in this case the mother and her daughter. This is also a case where how we feel about ourselves is dependent on another's performance and the comparison to us or qualities that we have or are exhibiting. It seems like such a innocent little story of just, mothers comparing daughters and just seeing how they're growing and their rate of growth, and such innocent observations. But if you dive in deeply and feel into what's the energy behind this, then you may notice that oftentimes we set up these innocent sounding rules and games into our lives so that we can actually benefit and get a kick and feel good about ourselves. I have absolutely nothing against competition or framed situations where we are encouraged to do our best and to achieve the best that we can. That is an absolutely beautiful situation to be in, and I'm sure drives so much innovation and creativity and just new things into this world. However, what I would love to highlight about this story, which I just share with you, is when we start to set rules or games with some kind of goal of hoping to be better, to set some standard where we want to be above it. And so we can feel better about ourselves because someone else is different and under what we say should be good or labeled as better. To me, that is a really, really strong sign that in order to go through such trouble of setting it up, the invitation, and actually going through the process of the game and applying those rules, in order to get a kick or in order to feel good at the end of the day, because of the results and because you are on the upper end of the line, that shows that this is all set up in order to invoke a good feeling inside of you. I would actually call this being more ego-based and more from a place of lack. What I mean by coming from a place of lack is that this good feeling is created by the demise or the putting down or making someone else irrelevant due to their ability to accomplish or to meet what you set as acceptable. This means that this game is comprised and created in order to get that feeling of better, of doing well and being on the upper hand. When we start comparing ourselves with others, and when others are put down or clearly displayed so that they seem to be on a lower end of the spectrum, that feeling that you may get, that kick, that feeling of being better, that is only in the moment. That is only when you apply that game and someone actually agrees to play with you. Because just like the example which I showed you, when the circumstances change, when things are out of your control, yet you apply the same rules, suddenly the game does not give you what you want. And then you'll have to find that feeling of being good enough somewhere else. So my question to you is, Are we able to let go of our ego? Can we fully let go of these rules, these games, these tactics and strategies in order to make ourselves feel better by putting others down? And are we able to just feel good, feel enough, and be content and happy with what we have now? Because if we do, then there is no need to create these games and go through all that trouble. There's also no need to put another down, because what we know is that we are enough. And this enoughness is so powerful and has so much potential, because that is a feeling that we can tap into anytime. We do not have to wait until we find some victim or someone to apply our rules to so that we can see we are better. By feeling enough and truly believing in this, you can get the same feeling. In this sense, it will be from a pure place and a higher vibration, and this enoughness will likely stick much longer in the long term, because it is not getting and trying to create situations and circumstances where you feel like you have many cases and evidence to prove to yourself that you are better than someone else. The message that I would love to drive home today, especially the learning from this story personally for me, is to reflect back on moments when we are acting in this game, when we are creating rules and games so that we can feel better about ourselves. Call it competition, call it whatever you would like, but I would love to invite you to reflect if in that situation your sole purpose or aim is to feel better about yourself. Ask yourself in these situations, if someone did as well as me, if someone did better than me, would that put me down? Would that make me feel like I'm not enough? Is the standard or your performance completely based on your own best, your own I did the best that I can, and I am just proud that I have reached further than I have ever gone before? Or is your feeling of success, of accomplishment, purely decided by others and whether they are better at something than you? This is a wonderful exercise to identify whether we are drowning and living in this scarcity mindset. Because if you have a clear mind and you fully, with a neutral perspective, look upon this story, it truly doesn't matter who is taller. When there is no judgment and we are content with who we are and accept reality as it is, then we are happy just the way we are. Another way this shines light on any scarcity mindset which we may be embodying is to feel. For example, if someone is taller, that doesn't mean that the world's tallness quota has gone to that person. No, we all have our own height, and just because I'm shorter, it's not a pie where we have to split. Just because I'm shorter doesn't mean that you have more of the pie and you are taller. There is actually nothing that we are splitting or trying to get from one another, because our own performance is ours. Just because we are better or have more of something doesn't mean that we are taking that quality away from someone else. It might seem completely obvious when I spell it out in this way, but just reflect back on situations in your life where you are playing such games, and you might be surprised that you have been in a scarcity mindset, and that is okay, because like any mindset, we can always adopt one that serves us better. I hope you like this episode, and please visit the show notes at femininespace.com/comparison to get the transcript and the breakdown of the exercise for identifying whether scarcity is in your life. I send you lots of love for the rest of the week, and I hope to see you again on Tuesday. Remember to flow with self-love and ignite your natural power. Share this episode with your friends, your loved ones, and especially leave a comment for what would you like to hear next, and give me a rating if you truly enjoyed this episode. Ciao! You are not alone. Want to walk your path with other amazing women who get you? Join us at the Free Feminine Space Facebook community. Just request access at femininetribe.com. See you there.